thought for 40 years I marveled to the multicultural working class power of UB40, and here I am, not just appearing on a stage with the legend Travers, about whom much more later, but in the very place where UB40 burst on to the British cultural scene. It's food for thought that someone, because I've got to let you in on a secret, I've always been a frustrated saxophone player. In fact, some of my friends wanted me to bring my sax with me today, but the very idea of playing as I do in front of Travers was completely unconscionable.
Forget about it, George.
But this is the truth, as God is my judge. When everyone's eyes were on other members of the band, mine were always on you. Your ability as a writer and as a saxophone player is without peer, and I take my hat off to you, Travers. Now there's a rat in the kitchen. What am I going to do? What am I going to? I'm going to fix that rat. That's my pledge. But more about Tom Watson later. Because I must begin by talking about the absolute abomination of a cabinet which Britain now lies under today. A ghastly chamber of horrors of some of the worst people in the land are now in charge of our national affairs without a single one of us casting a vote in their favour. Yep. And we demand a general election in Britain right now. Right now. We demand Jeremy Corbyn as the Prime Minister of Britain right now. And one of my many problems with the rat in the kitchen, to be fair, there's lots of them, is that Labour's enemy within, its fifth column, led by Tom Watson, have ensured that the Tories remained in power from 2017 onwards, precisely because they undermined, stabbed in the back, did everything they could to destroy any possibility of a Jeremy Corbyn victory in 2017. And I will never forgive them for that. Not for personal reasons. By the grace of God and working 7 days a week, literally, I'm doing fine. I can live with these people in power. But there are tens of millions of people in Britain that need a different kind of government. A government that will look after the workers, look after the poor, look after the marginalized. A government that will not bend every rule, every law to the enrichment of the already rich.
Yes, George.
And that's what we've had in this country since 2010. In fact, that's what we've had in this country since 1979. Hello there, darling. Think about it. Thatcher's long dead, but Thatcherism has been ruling us since 1979. Thatcher was a Thatcherite, Major was a Thatcherite, Blair was a Thatcherite, Brown was a Thatcherite, Cameron was a Thatcherite, May was a Thatcherite. Johnson is a Thatcherite. Away with the Thatcherites. It's time for real change in Britain. Now, I've been looking at Tom Watson's record. And the first thing I've got to say, and I said it to the television downstairs, Tom Watson's done a lot more for West Jerusalem than he's done for West Bromwich. He's never done speaking up for Netanyahu and the criminals in charge of Israel, gunning down Palestinian people every day in the occupied West Bank and Gaza. I never see him or hear him talking about anything else except, mind you, they say in life, follow the money. So I was looking at who funds Tom Watson. Well, he said in the Express and Star last week that he was going to defeat me because he was a patriot. So let's look at the top line in his funding record. £540,000 from the son of Adolf Hitler's British Gauleiter, Sir Oswald Mosley. What did he do with that £540,000? You know, actually nobody knows that. There's no record of it. There's no receipts. There's no accounting. He might have spent it all on, I don't know, liposuction. He might have spent it all at Glastonbury. He might have spent it all on holidays. We don't know what he did with that £540,000. So my first question, Mr. Watson, what did you do with the £540,000 you received from the son of the former leader of Britain's Nazi party? How's that for patriotism? Birmingham was bombed, partially destroyed by the regime that the father of the man who gave Watson over £500,000. Imagine if Jeremy Corbyn had took £540,000 from the son of Oswald Mosley. That's my first question. What did you do with it? But here's my second question. What did you do for it? Why did he give it to you? What did you do for £540,000? But the 540 is only the tip of the iceberg. When I looked at his Who Funds Tom Watson list, I found hundreds of thousands of pounds going back years given to Watson by the Israel lobby in Britain. Well, here we know what he did for it. He spent every waking hour fighting for the rights of an apartheid regime. Because that's what Israel is, an apartheid regime which illegally occupies the land of the Palestinian people, drives them into refugee camps, and then rains down fire and destruction upon them. So at least we know what he did for all the money that he received from the Israel lobby. Now, Tom Watson, I don't mind or care what line you took on this, but you wouldn't want me to hide mine. Whether you supported Brexit or you didn't support Brexit, it's immaterial. It's 50-50 around here. Although not in West Bromwich East. 68% of the people in West Bromwich East voted for Brexit. But their MP has spent every day since the referendum trying to destroy Brexit. Now I say, whether you agree with Brexit or not, Democracy is democracy. The people must get what they voted for. Otherwise, democracy is subverted. Voting didn't matter because the same people stayed in power. However, you voted. Well, I don't want that. Because, you see, without democracy, we, the ordinary people, the working people, have nothing. This is the only power we've got. We don't have money. We don't own TV stations or newspapers. We don't own lands from which we draw rents, properties from which we draw rents. We're only people that work to stay alive and keep our families alive. And the only power we've got is the power of the vote. And when the vote is cheated by those with the power to cheat us, that is a very dangerous road to travel indeed. Now, the young man on the television asked me downstairs, well, you're not from West Brom. Neither was Brian Robson. Brian Robson comes from far closer to me in Scotland than he was to West Brom. But with Jeff Astle and Laurie Cunningham and Cyril Regis, they were the finest men to pull on the West Brom stripes. It doesn't matter where you came from. It matters what you're going to do for the people in your area. Look on it this way. I am Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I've got goals left in me. I can win championships for you. Forgive my Scottish accent and just use my talent, use my experience, and I promise you, you'll have a far better member of Parliament than you do at the moment in West Brom.
Nice one.
And lastly, you'll have to forgive me because this is the 26th of July. Yeah, I'll get questions after this. No, what is it?
I'm being harassed by this man. My autistic child is annoying him.
No, he's annoying me. I've just asked.
Guys.
We've come to this record. Can you take your kids downstairs? No,
I'm sorry.
I've asked you nicely, and you told me to fuck off.
No, it's not. No, it's not for me. I'm almost finished, brother. I'm almost finished.
Carry on.
It's all right.
Carry on. Carry on. That's okay, brother. Just
Okay.
stay, please. Please stay. Please.
Sorry, no.
Just lastly, before I take questions. Lastly, you'll have to forgive me. This is the 26th of July. That might not mean something to everyone, but it means the world to Brian and me. Because on the 26th of July, we celebrate the victory of the Cuban People's Revolution, which overthrew the dictatorship of Batista. Viva Cuba! Viva! Just let me finish this point. Before the Cuban Revolution, Cuba was just a bordello for the criminal classes in the United States of America. Black people couldn't piss in the same pot as white people. Apartheid ruled. Black people were not allowed to walk in the same parks. The working people, if they were lucky, got a job in the casino or the bordello owned by the mafia criminals from the United States of America. And then on the 26th of July, then landed
Jose Marti!
Fidel Castro, Che Guevara, and the other revolutionary heroes who overthrew that dictatorship and who have maintained from 1959 until 2019, imagine, in the teeth of unremitting US hostility from just 90 miles away, an island that is the coolest place on the planet, a name that is the coolest name on the planet. Everyone wants to go to Cuba. Everyone listens to the music of Cuba. I used to smoke the tobacco of Cuba. Some of you will be drinking the rum of Cuba. This jewel in the Caribbean is a jewel precisely because of the victory which began on this very day. So I stand for liberation all over the world. I stand for the working class people here, whatever color they are, however they pray, wherever they came from. The working people is what I stand for. You say a rat in the kitchen. I was brought up for the first 5 years in my life in an attic which didn't have a kitchen. I spent the first 5 years of my life going outside to the lavatory. The seat was always warm. That was the one thing I remember about it. Sharing a toilet with 9 other families. My arse used to hang out of my trousers. Sometimes I couldn't go to school because of the holes in my shoes. I've shivered through winters when the electricity was cut off. I've seen my father made redundant from a factory to which he gave 25 years of his life. It doesn't matter, you know, how well you do in life. But if you forget where you came from, if you forget the people from whence you came, if you forget, me and Brian have an Irish background. Somebody accused me the other day of having Irish issues. Well, as my ancestors came in their bare feet from Ireland, literally in their bare feet, on a cattle boat, how could I not have Irish issues? My Irish issue is that the British should be out of Ireland. That's my Irish issue. Anyway, I'm going on a bit because I'm so happy to see you. And it's a remarkable thing for me to be here with you. Brian's got a fundraising gig tomorrow for the Giles Trust to raise funds for equipment that should be provided already to the National Health Service. We weren't cutting taxes for the richest people that have all the machines already. That event needs to be supported. I bow my head before Brian Travers. With his illness, he could have retreated and just sat listening to his records. You still call them records? Instead, he has thrown himself into fundraising for a great cause. He's thrown himself into helping me defeat Tom Watson in West Bromwich East. He's thrown himself into all these causes that he and his friends have always supported. So I thank you from the bottom of my heart for this, for today, for the joyful times we've already had together. I wish you long life. You will never, ever be silenced. Your saxophone will ring out through the ages, and one day I might be even able to play 10% as well as you. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you. Anybody got any questions? I can't see, so just shout out.
It's about Sandwell Council, George.
Sorry?
It's about Sandwell Council.
Well, Sandwell Council is a place where there's a lot of fighting going on.
If I may,
Yeah.
in Sandwell Council the last 6 months we've had 3 Labour leaders,
Yeah.
and John Speller and Tom Watson have had the control over the majority of that cabinet and the group.
Yeah.
Now, will you support the likes of James Morris, who you're not going to like, in calling for an independent inquiry into the matters around Sandwell Council, and the fact we've also just lost a chief executive who's been removed and has now just got himself another job after getting 37k. Will you have a look into Tom Watson and John Speller's actions within Sandwell Council?
With the greatest of pleasure.
And if I might just mention to that, you said about the money that he had from Mr Mosley.
Yeah.
Will you have a look at the people that he's been employing? Councillor Hackett, Gavin, Rees, and the various others within Sandwell Council that were all kicked out of the cabinet, including Sayeeda Khatun.
Trust me on one thing. Having been an MP in Glasgow, in the East End of London, and in Bradford, I know all there is to know about New Labour corruption. And I will go through it like a dose of salts. They won't know what hit them when I arrive in West Brom East. Yes, the lady.
Thank you. The Brexit thing, not that I want a big discussion about Brexit,
Yeah.
but the way we voted was always going to leave one half of the people unhappy and one half of the people happy.
Yeah.
If it had gone either way.
Yeah.
Why didn't we adopt what they do in Scandinavia before we did the vote and say it's got to be 65% of the people so that we weren't left in a situation where half the people are unhappy?
Yeah.
And also, that vote happened after we've proven that there were loads of lies. So can't we just have another vote where we go like, look, it's got to be 65% of the people, and this is the truth of the matter, and let it go again?
No, we can't, because that wasn't the rules. It's like saying you're going to change the rules in the middle of a football
But
match.
they've done it before.
If you say to the people, as Parliament did unanimously virtually, we're going to have a referendum, it's going to be a binary question, in or out, and then when out wins, you say, can we change the rules? Nothing would undermine the people's faith in democracy more than trying to do that now.
I believe they did that in Ireland with the vote that I can't remember.
Well, it's true that EU forced the Irish to keep on voting until they voted the right way. But we're not going to do that. We voted to leave and we must leave. And those who want to rejoin are welcome to stand for election on the platform of rejoining the EU. And if they win, we'll rejoin. It's really simple as that. Any others? Yes, in the middle. Yes, with glasses.
Yeah, if you got elected in like 2 years, what would you do about the situation regarding Julian Assange?
Yeah. Julian Assange is a friend of mine. I'm proud to say that. I've been with him in dark days and fine. I've been standing outside the walls of Belmarsh Prison, the grim prison walls, demanding freedom for Julian Assange. Look, I'm a writer and a broadcaster myself. If somebody comes along and gives me a great story, as that gentleman just pointed me to, a great story about the Sandwell Council. And I don't know if he nicked the material or not. It's not my business. My business is that material true? And my second question, is it in the public interest for me to publish this? And on both those counts, Julian Assange established the truth and published in the public interest some of the biggest stories of the 21st century. Stories about war crimes committed by American forces in Iraq. Stories about criminal acts by governments all over the world. Stories about how the Democratic Party in the United States rigged their primary so that Bernie Sanders couldn't win and put up Hillary Clinton instead, which gave us Donald Trump. That's what Julian did. Now, the idea that a publisher of such true, and no one disputes that it was true, Nobody said the Americans didn't murder all these people from a helicopter. Nobody says Hillary and the DNC didn't rig the primaries. They don't claim it's not true, they just claim it shouldn't have been published. Well, there's an old English adage, publish and be damned. That's what Julian did, and I will stand with him as long as God gives me breath for having done so. Any others? Yes, Father back, big powerful man with a beard.
Hi George, thank you very much for coming down. Really appreciate you being here.
Welcome.
Fighting the fight, West Bromwich. Just as a Labour member and supporter, what would you say to other Labour supporters and members in West Bromwich who might be tempted to vote for you to get Watson out, or because they're pro-Brexit, or both, but are worried about potentially splitting the vote and then someone else through? I'm having this conversation with other Labour supporters saying you've got to vote for George, you've got to vote for George, but they're worried about, you know, splitting a vote.
Well, look, I'm fighting this contest to win. When Tony Blair expelled me from the Labour Party over the Iraq War in 2003, they thought it was all over. And 2 years later, less than, I defeated the Blairite war campaigner Una King in Bethnal Green and Bow. When I gave up in 2010 because I promised that I would, I promised before the election in 2005 that I would serve only one term. And by the way, I'm promising you that right now in West Bromwich too. So tell that to your friends in the Labour Party in West Bromwich. They'll only have to put up with me for one parliamentary term. Then they can find a decent Labour candidate instead of Tom Watson.
Yeah, absolutely. Well then, kick him out, kick him out. Kick him out.
And my second point is this. This is going to be almost certainly a four-party marginal. His majority is just 7,000. He's Mr. Anti-Brexit, while 68% of his voters voted for Brexit. That means in a four-party race, 26% of the vote wins you the seat. I am confident that we can do that. But I'm going to say something you might not like. And I wouldn't say it about anybody else except Tom Watson. Any defeat for Tom Watson is a Labour gain. I really believe that. Because if Tom Watson goes back to the next Parliament, if Jeremy Corbyn has won the right to be Prime Minister, Tom Watson would be prepared to burst his tyres to stop him getting to Buckingham Palace to see the Queen, to become the Prime Minister. Watson would sabotage, wreck, destroy any possibility of a Jeremy Corbyn government in Britain. You need to get rid of him. He is. I don't say this about many people. The only other person I'd say about that's still in the Labour Party is Tony Blair. Tom Watson is a wicked man. He has been prepared to do the lowest things over and over and over again to destroy his own party, to destroy his own leader, to create an atmosphere of such poison that at least 30% of the country out there thinks that Jeremy Corbyn is a racist. That's how bad it is. And he's spent the whole 4 years doing that. We have to get Watson out. Any defeat for Watson is a victory for the working class movement. But I believe that victory can be won by me, standing as an independent, and I ask everybody to give me their support. One last question.
Kick him out.
One last. Two last.
Young chap here.
Yeah, okay, young chap there.
Hi George, I live in West Bromwich East.
Wait, guys. Sorry.
Sorry. Me or...
The little fella, just
Okay.
hold on, hold back. Come closer, come closer.
Do you think Boris Johnson will deliver a Brexit?
Well, I hope he does, in which case... Did everyone hear the young man's question? Do I think that Boris Johnson will deliver Brexit? I don't know if he will, son. He's certainly now hoist on that petard. If he doesn't deliver Brexit by Halloween, we'll all be out with our masks on, looking for him. And he'll be
Yay!
down and
Good
out.
answer. Good question. Good question. Well done.
But my worry, son,
Well done.
is the damage that Boris Johnson and his cabinet can do to Britain in the interim and thereafter. They've appointed someone as the Home Secretary who believes in bringing back the death penalty. We're in Birmingham yet. The Birmingham Six, who were framed, would all have been hanged if Britain had the death penalty. So would the Guildford Four. So would any number of people, victims of miscarriage of justice. And our Home Secretary, in charge of law and order, wants to bring back the death penalty. Son, never mind Halloween. These people are monsters. Real life ghouls and monsters. Be careful. Hang on to your mum and dad.
Hey, well done. Well done. Well done. Well done. Well done.
Yeah, further back there. Yeah, speak up, sir.
Yeah, sure. So, what can normal people in West Bromwich East expect from you as the local MP? I'm pretty confident that you'll win it. I really hope you do because I live
A
in
fighter.
Bromwich East.
Yeah.
And what plans do you have for the area? Probably a premature question, but if any, what plans do you have for
Well,
the area?
I've only just signed, so let me get the jersey on first. I told you I'm Zlatan Ibrahimovic. I'll score goals for you. I'll win championships for you. I'll put West Brom East on the map in a good way. Everyone will be talking about West Bromwich East. Everyone will be talking. Yeah, man. I'm moving there myself. Everyone will be talking about West Bromwich East, and in a good way. They'll not be talking about it in the disgrace that Tom Watson is. They'll be talking about it in a good way. When I officially launch my campaign in the constituency, if Watson hasn't succeeded in barring all halls and doors to me, which he's trying very hard to do, but if necessary, I'll do it in the street.
Yes.
I don't need a hall. I don't need a microphone.
Hey!
I'll give you a plan, not just for West Brom, but for the West Midlands. Look, I started life making Michelin tyres. I was the only MP that could make a tyre. Most of them couldn't even change one. I was an industrial worker. I never went to university, far less got a grant in order to do so, like Tom Watson and the others, before they kicked it away for everybody else's son and daughter. I never went to university. I left school at 16. I worked in a factory. I know about industry. One of the main reasons why I want Brexit is so we can rebuild British industry. And this is the workshop of the world, and we've got to make it that all over again. Last
Nice
question, one behind, yes.
Do you think there should be more working class MPs in the Labour Party? There's only like 8%, and there was 80% in the 1920s.
Yeah, I think, never mind the 1920s, brother. When I entered Parliament in 1987, my first operation was a filibuster to wreck Thatcher's plan to privatise the docks, abolish the dock labour scheme. And we were going to take the Tories all night. We were going to take them through the whole night and wreck their business for the next day. And it didn't start till after 10. When I went in at 10, where you would normally find half a dozen members of Parliament, there was hundreds on the benches. People well to the right of me I was Transport and General Workers sponsor. I had a duty to be there. The dockers were our members. But the Labour benches were absolutely packed of former miners, former car workers, former dockers, steel workers, working class people, some of them on the right wing of the Labour Party. But they knew that if she comes for the dockers, after the dockers she'll come for the miners, after the miners she'll come for the print workers, after they knew which side they were on, because they were themselves working class MPs. What's Tom Watson ever done in his life? He's never seen an angry foreman. He thinks Swarthega is a Greek island. Tom Watson and people like him went from student politics into research jobs for MPs, into safe seats and into government. They know nothing about the lives of working class people. Nothing. If Labour becomes, and by the way, I've got to tell you, it's in danger of becoming a London-centric, university-educated, party of Guardian-reading liberals, endlessly obsessing about transgender toilets. It is finished in this country. It has to turn back to the Midlands, to the North, to South Wales, to the working class, and get its strength from there. Because that's the only reason for having a Labour Party. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Comrades, ladies and gentlemen, George Galloway. It was worth turning up, wasn't it? It was great, wasn't it? George, thank you so much, sir. Wow, every day's a school day, and my head's spinning now. Thank you, guys. I know I've got a friend there who wants his book signed about Shade that you wrote. Everybody wants a selfie, wants to say hello. But thanks for coming, guys. Thank you.
Just stand back, just come back a little bit, that was in the way.
Mr. Galloway, he's going to be our new neighbour, and we like our neighbours. Thank you so much. Please have a drink and listen to some music. I'm just going to look after the governor.
I don't know. You like any CDs, anybody? Oh, I better start with George. Oh, hang on. Naylor, we just... Selling drinks. Bob!